All right. Hey, I'm Matt Pomeroy, and welcome to the Phys Ed Summit 2016. Thank you so much for joining us on the 24-hour back-to-back-to-back global event. We've got just a couple hours to go, so coming to a close. We could not make this day happen without you. We're very humbled by the outpouring of support and promotion um, of the summit from each one of you. All right, by sharing this with one person, we could be affecting hundreds, if not thousands, of students. Thank you so much for being here to push best practices, effective health, physical education, professional development forward. It's an amazing health and PE community, and we're so excited to be a part of it. Just a reminder that we are using technology, and sometimes things happen. So if some reason the video feed stops or there's something going wrong, just check back with the Tozzle for a new link. We'll get that there. It might take a couple of moments, but we thank you again for your patience. Quick reminder about the badge system. Go ahead and check it out if you Google Phys Ed Summit badges. Kind of a cool way to track your PD, a cool way to challenge you to continue working hard and getting more and more PD as well. So check that out. It's been a lot of fun seeing people posting badges on social media and those types of things. So again, chatting on the Tozzle is really cool. Great way to learn. Great way to share with more people that are in the presentation. Again, feel free to post things on social media. If you hear something that you really like, go over to Twitter, go over to Facebook, use the Phys Ed Summit hashtag, so then all educators can see that too. So chatting in the Tozzle and chatting on social media. So last thing, we're posting the feedback survey on the Phys Ed Summit 2016 homepage. We hope that you provide us with some feedback so we can make our next event even better. All right. You also get a PD certificate when you fill out the quick survey after the summit. All right. So this session, student voice and student choice. I'm hanging out here with Justin Schleider and Nick Endlich. Just a quick little introduction to both of them here, and then I'll send it over to them. So Justin currently teaches physical education, health, and technology in Springfield Elementary School, grades pre-K through 6. He's taught there for 5 years. Previously taught 5 years at Mercer County Special Services and Lambertville Public School. He is the brain behind SlowChat PE and SlowChatPE, All right, which posts a question of the day on Twitter and Voxer, and he's on Voxer PE. Which is teachers again from all around the world. And Nick Enlich is with us. He is K6 Health and PE, 11th year of teaching at Dover Elementary School. He's co-presented at the 2015 PE Institute, Phys Ed Summit 2.0, and New Jersey AFERD. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for waking up at 6 in the morning.
5 in the morning for Matt.
Morning for me. We both got about or all three of us got about 4.5 hours of sleep after fire talk. So
Yeah.
Back at it now, gentlemen.
Yep. All right. So, thanks everybody for joining us here today, talking about student choice and student voice. And it's something that recently I've come to really implement in my classes, and I think it's something that everybody can and should use to get some, I think, more meaningful engagement out of students and to help kind of differentiate their learning a little bit. So we'll take you through and talk a little bit about student choice and student voice here. Justin, you got anything to add before I share my screen here?
No, just a lot of times we're psyched up as a teacher and we go, oh, we have all this knowledge we want to share, and it's cool, but if we remember back to our days, if we just sit there and had one teacher just spewing information at us over and over again, you kind of become noise in the background instead of the focal point of what we want is the learning. So student voice and student choice really puts the learning at the center and not the teacher, which is what we're hopefully aiming for.
All right, sounds good. Here we go. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yep, we got it, man.
All right, so um, what is student choice and student voice? In my opinion, this is how I see it and how I use it. Student voice provides an opportunity for all students to be able to share, which is huge because a lot of times you'll have in class you'll have a couple of students that predominantly share, and then you'll have a handful of students that never share, um, and they never have their voice heard in any way, shape, or form. And so student voice is really making sure that all students get that opportunity to uh, share and voice their thoughts and opinions and ideas in a safe environment within your classroom. And then student choice is providing students with um, really an opportunity uh, to choose what's best for them in the way that they are going to learn or demonstrate their learning or knowledge within your classroom. So we're going to take you through a couple of things here today, discussing why, and then giving some examples of uh, how we've used student choice and student voice in our classroom. But one of the first things that we're going to talk about here are going to be some common misconceptions. So a lot of times people feel that student choice or student voice um, means that um, as a teacher, I know it's best. I've been trained. I went to school. I have all the specialized training in my content area. Uh, so my students aren't going to know more than me. They're not going to know better than me. I'm the expert in the room. And what you find out is that students know themselves, um, and they know what they like to do. They probably know themselves better than you know them. And so this isn't giving away, or saying that you're not the expert, but it's also giving them an opportunity to participate and be engaged in class in a meaningful way for them as well.
So did you just say that the students know themselves better than the teacher knows them?
I think a lot of times people as learners of anything are going to know themselves, um, whether it's, to give you an example, I know personally I never liked getting up, which most kids don't. I didn't like getting up and talking in front of the class, or I didn't necessarily um, like working by myself. And I knew worked better working with a partner or small group. I did much better doing more project-based activities, and some people aren't that way. And some people like to work by themselves. Some people like to work in groups. Some people are very artistic. Some people, there's different things that they enjoy or that they feel that they're good at. And I think hitting upon those areas um, allows for more meaningful engagement for all the kids. So.
Absolutely. You would hope that they would be an expert in themselves and know what's going on a little bit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times what happens is, as a teacher, we try to do the same thing, have everybody kind of conform to, um, doing one particular project or activity, and then a lot of times that aligns with us as a teacher more so than the student. And so, as a teacher, I prefer projects. I prefer group work. So I'm going to have my kids do projects and group work, um, and not taking into account that some students in that class don't like to work in groups. They might do the project, but they would choose to work by themselves over being in a group. And I think that's where we have to kind of differentiate a little bit. And when we get into some of the examples for each, we'll get a little bit more in depth into those.
Nice.
So as we roll down through, the second one is also a big one. Teachers don't want to lose control of their class. I know a lot of times people might think that student choice and student voice turns things into a free-for-all. They're off, they're just running, especially in phys ed, they're off running, doing whatever they want to, and um, it kind of turns into a free-for-all for your students, and then you're going to lose control of that class. Uh, my experience has been quite the opposite. My students become very engaged within the activities uh, because they have that choice. You're going to see that they have and take more ownership and accountability for their work. So it actually makes the class very, very controlled, but it's controlled by the students themselves as opposed to myself as a teacher, which we all know controlling a class, especially larger classes in the gym, can be pretty demanding at times. And if we don't have to regulate that class or try to control it because they're controlling it themselves, it's a win for everybody. All right, let's run through. I can't plan or prepare for multiple activities. I know a lot of times for me, I don't have um, a, a ton of equipment and gym space. So to try and plan out multiple activities, there just isn't the room for it. And when we get into some of the examples, uh, I'll share how I've done this, but it's minor. Um, you can use minor changes, uh, equipment changes. So you might be performing still the same skills, but there's options for equipment that the students can use, and they're going to pick which equipment is going to allow them to perform the activity that I, as a teacher, have designed for that day, but they get to choose what equipment they feel they're going to perform best using. How do I assess their learning? So if we have all this choice going on and all these different activities going on, it can be pretty hard to assess their learning, and it can be, but any assessing of students can be hard. So you have to be prepared, plan for the activities, um, but the skills themselves are going to be still the same. It's just how they demonstrate those skills. Um, and again, we'll get into a little bit more detail. So that's not as daunting as you think. And then the last one is curriculum. A lot of times people think if students have the choice and they'll pick whatever they want, and you won't be able to get through and teach the curriculum that you have. So as far as I'm concerned, the choice and voice that my students have, it's not necessarily going to be over the entire curriculum. So they're not going to necessarily come in and say, 5 kids want to play basketball today, 5 want to play football, 10 want to jump rope. It's giving them choices within the activities and units that you have designed. So you are still utilizing your curriculum, but you're offering different choices within that curriculum in order for students to meet those needs. Yeah. Justin, anything else that you have?
For me, we're going to get into all these a little more, so I guess I'll just wait until we get there. But just understanding that giving up a little bit of the power and saying, hey, I don't need to be that, like they say in the education world, the sage on the stage, and I could do a little more of giving the power to the students is not a negative thing. It doesn't mean that you're not great at your job. It doesn't mean that they don't need a teacher. What it means is it's easier to swim along with the current than swim against it all the time. And I'll get into that a little more as we, uh, delve into these.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit deeper with these, but that's a great point. Um, and I, for me, I think we're not saying that you're not the expert. You're still the expert in the room, um, and you're still designing the lessons and units. I think it actually means that you're a better teacher because you're able to design better lessons because students are going to have that choice. They're going to be able to have multiple options. I mean, differentiation is definitely key, and I think that actually says more about you as a teacher as opposed to less.
Absolutely.
All right, so what does student voice actually look like? So I found that technology is a great way, and here's a good quote from Cybrary Man, Jerry Blumengarden, that tech gives the quietest student a voice. And this is very, very true. A lot of times, if within a class you're going to have students, again, those handful that are always raising their hand or always sharing, you're going to have another group of students who never share, and then you kind of have the group in the middle that occasionally does here or there. Technology really allows you to provide students with, all students with a voice in your classroom, and it doesn't even require a lot of tech. For example, Plickers is a great way. Even though it's just multiple choice true false, it still gives kids an opportunity to voice their opinion and thoughts. Um, that doesn't require a lot of technology. And again, the other thing is all three of these, Padlet, Google Forms, and Plickers, um, you're not sharing the student's information. So nobody knows who's saying anything, who's sharing anything. Because that's a lot of times where students have um, shy away from sharing is because they don't want to look stupid, they don't want to be made fun of, or they're not sure about their answer, and so they'd rather not share. Um, so by using technology, it makes it quick and efficient, and it allows all students that opportunity to share in that safe and positive learning environment. And Justin, I know you use Padlet a lot, Google Forms a lot. Um, what are some things that you've done within your class um, that have allowed, that you've noticed a difference with your students when it comes to sharing ideas?
Well, for me, in the beginning of the year, I love my Google Forms. So, like when you come back to school and you go, all right, what did you love about last year? What did you hate about last year? What did you want to get to that we didn't get to? Or what did you learn during the summer that you want to get to? So, for me, that right there allows them the voice of, hey, you did this as a teacher, as a collective unit. If I don't know, 50% or more, I don't know, not an exact percentage, but if a bulk of my students are not liking a unit that I did, I'm going to look at that unit and go, all right, why didn't they like it? How can I improve that unit? From there, also, we talk about what did they not do. So some of them, if they're writing, we want to get to, I don't know, fly fishing, and I can make it happen. I don't know if I could or not, but if I can make it happen, I'm going to try to implement that. So for me, I love using it to just really get the data together and work on improving my teaching there. And then also one of the things I like is, what's your favorite song? I ask in my Google form. So now I'll take all that, their music, I'll download all the songs, put them on there, and when they're in my class, they'll hear their favorite song. Now it works on engagement. I'm not the one choosing music because, to be honest, I wouldn't choose any song from the last 15 years. I'm one of those old curmudgeons that go, "Oh, the music today stinks. I don't want to hear that." Uh, I'd rather listen to classic rock of the 70s. That was when music was wonderful. So instead of them just listening to stuff that I enjoy, um, now they get a little bit of voice in there. And again, what do we talk about? Increasing engagement. And I know that just increasing engagement's not enough, but it's a great first step to increase learning. When kids are paying attention, when kids want to be there, that's half the battle right there. Once we have their attention, once we have that positive association with our class, then the learning follows right there. So a lot of people are on this anti-engagement kick these days of, oh, engagement's not enough. Correct. But it's a great beginning on, once we have them, then we could say, all right, let's go into the learning and help out a little bit. So that for me is one of the best ways to use Google Forms for student voice.
Yeah, so I completely stole from you that get to know you assignment. That was what, 2 years ago. I think I started doing that. You shared that with me, and I've been doing the same thing ever since. One of the other things that it helps me do is to learn things about my students to help build those relationships. So when students share things, because I have, a mixture of school questions and personal questions, I do the same thing. I do favorite song or artist. Um, what was one thing awesome that you did over the summer, just to kind of get that background information from them. Questions about class, likes, dislikes, things that they could do if we haven't done. Um, I also talk about, you know, in class, how do you like to work? Do you like to work by yourself, with a partner, in a group? I want to see that because a lot of times we have a whole different array of answers in a certain class. And so when I design projects, lessons, activities, I take that into account and I give them that option. You can do this with a partner, you can do this with a group, or you can do it by yourself. And then I have to design that activity to meet all those different options. And really, it's not too bad. Your criteria is just maybe a little bit different, but it all lines up and uh, does the same thing. So, and I know like when I teach health, I use Padlet a lot. So as we go through um, different units, lessons, activities, I'll come back and I'll have them um, use Padlet. So I might ask a question before a unit. Um, So, for example, my tobacco unit, or I'll ask kids a few questions, about pet. Like one of the first ones is, why do you think people smoke? Like, why do you think people start to use tobacco? And then they gotta start to come through and brainstorm. And again, I'll let them answer by themselves. I'll let them answer with a partner, giving them, that option. And I feel like I get better responses. If I just ask the class, I would get one or two kids that would raise their hand, and that would be about it. So I definitely get more student involvement, more student engagement, and it really allows for um, everybody to answer. And when everybody answers, you also get um, so many more responses, and you get different thoughts and views. When you have the same one or two kids, you're kind of getting the same, the same people chiming in, and you know, not that they don't have good answers, but they don't always have the best answer. There's a lot of other responses and answers out there, and we're trying to get, the best all-around um, view or information, whatever it might be. So,
Yeah, I don't even go with the hand raising anymore.
no.
When I ask a question, I just start calling on people. And my favorite is, I didn't have my hand raised. And my response to that is, I didn't say you did. And
Right.
then, what's the answer? What's your response to that? Because you get your dominant kids who are just going to raise their hand, whether they're a little quicker to the draw sometimes and they do have the right answer, or they want to just hear themselves talk, which kind of like myself. And then you don't hear the voices, some of the introverts or some of the people who are a little nervous to speak in front of everybody. So I think that is where, your student voice and technology comes up, where everybody could have it. There's no fear. They don't have to say it in front of everybody, and you could still assess or check out as a teacher what's going on in your class.
Yeah. So another way um, that I will utilize this as well, and again, usually it's prior to starting a unit or activity. Um, I'll kind of go through and I'll kind of get a feel for what students either might know or just kind of how they feel about particular units, and that way I can kind of gauge where we're at and where we're going to be starting from. And again, towards the beginning of the year, I also have them fill out a form of, here's like 15 possible activities units that we could be working on this year. and then they go through, they fill out that form, and like you were saying, you get an idea of, well, the majority of this class would like to do this activity, but my other sixth grade class, they would actually prefer this activity. And so for me, I don't necessarily teach the exact same activities. I still go through the same grade level outcomes, but the activities in which I teach it sometimes are different from class to class. And because, like you said, we're trying to meet the students where they're at, what's going to engage them, what are they going to be into. Because for me, it doesn't matter if I'm doing some invasion games and we have a choice. We could do chook ball, sabaki ball, or team handball. It doesn't matter to me which one we do, you know. And so I'll try to get an idea from the students. That way I can tailor our lessons and activities towards that specific activity. And I think I mean, I've personally had good results. Um, my students are definitely more engaged. And, I think you had mentioned, Justin, that empowerment. Um, it's not my class, it's our class. And knowing that they have that um, say, and I think it increases their accountability as well, because now they've decided they've had a say in what's going on in class.
Yeah, when you have student voice, you feel like you have a little ownership of the class. You feel like you're not just another number in there. And that when you feel like you're a part of something, then again, it goes back to engagement. You want to be there, and it's going to be a little more tailored to you as we get to the student choice part of it, which is huge.
Right. So is there anything else that you use besides Padlet, Google Forms? Um, I used to use Plickers until we went one-to-one with our students, but I know it's a great way for people who aren't in that environment.
I
Um,
mean, for student voice, I tell them all the same thing every time. If you have something you want to let me know, create a Google form because we don't have a Google Doc. We don't have emails because we are
right,
elementary school. So create a Google Doc. Write me on the Google Doc. What do you want to do? You write the rules down there or whatever it is, and make sure you tell me before the class. Don't walk into class and say, "Oh, can we do this?" Well, no, I don't have my equipment ready. Tell me beforehand and I will sit there and say, how can I take what you want to do and match it up with my grade level outcomes or switch out what's going on and then figure out from there. So again, just a simple Google Doc that's shared with me now becomes a communication tool, which is just like email, plus it's documented, and I don't have to worry about, any of that communication issues.
right. And Justin, I know you do quite a bit of this where at the end of a unit, you will have your students take the equipment skills and actually come up with their own game or variation of a game or activity that you do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but that's more student choice than student voice. That's why I
well,
was saying all that.
okay, but to me, I was thinking that um, it's kind of an overlap. We'll segue in the student choice there because um, they're able to, like you said, yeah, they're able to have kind of that voice, so to speak, in how an activity or game is played or potentially played, and then it can have an impact on future grades, because I know you take some of the activities and use them and play them in your other classes.
Oh
So,
yeah, if it's a good activity, if they come up with a game that's better than what I have or a game that I think is interesting, I'll put it in my other classes and let them use it and then give the other kids credit, which is they love that as well. And they actually come up with some really cool games, cooler than what I come up with sometimes. I might have to mold the game just a little bit to make sure that everybody's involved or we're working on the skill we need to work on. But they have some really interesting games.
yeah, and I think that piece right there is huge with voice. They're voicing their opinion on how to make the game better, and you as the teacher are accepting that and actually implementing that. A lot of times kids are like, oh, what if we did this in the game? And the teacher's just like, no, this is how the game's played.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and these are the rules, this is how it's played. But when you start to give them that voice to where they can adapt and change the rules of the game and voice their opinion on how to make the game better, um, like you said, they come up with some really, really, really cool stuff. So, why don't we segue right then into uh, student choice here? Um, and as we were hashing this out, um, I do love this quote. I know our kindergarten teachers hang it up. They have it printed out and hang it up in their hallway. As far as if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And to me, what resonates is that if I'm not judging but assessing my students based upon what's good for me, but not necessarily what's best for them, then it's not fair to them um, because they're not me. So by giving them some voice and in this case some choice in how they demonstrate their knowledge or learning, then I'm going to be able to see their best work. Um, and I think that's where the choice part comes in, and that ownership really, really starts to come in as well. So for me, here's 5 areas in which I give my students choice. So, and then Justin, you can jump in at any time and um, you know share your ideas as well. So for me, equipment, um, like I said, I tend to give them different opportunities, different types of equipment. And the one example that I that I'll share is in my invasion games unit when we're working on overhand throw and everything else. Um, I give my students a choice of equipment to throw. I also give them a choice of targets. So we're really working on um, hitting our target. So they'll have a choice of different types of balls to throw. So it might be a tennis ball, a fleece ball, gator skin ball, a football. So like 4 or 5 different choices to throw. And then I also give them a choice of targets. So I might have a hula hoop, which is nice and big and round. I'll have a large cone, a small cone, all the way down to a dome cone. And the students then are able to choose which equipment they want to use that's going to make them most successful. For me, I'm looking at their ability to perform the overhand throw correctly. So to me, it doesn't matter what equipment they use. So their choice allows them to pick the equipment that they're going to be most comfortable with or most successful with. I have some students, they'll start with one piece of equipment and they'll change it out. And they'll change out the target, they'll change out the ball, and they're going to work through the different types of equipment to till they get to the point where they're successful. And as opposed to me saying you're going to use this ball throwing at this target. And I started that last year, and um, the success of my students was through the roof because I had some kids who, oh, and the other things they get to do is they're able to choose the distance that they throw from. And I had some kids who were throwing a tennis ball at a small dome cone from 15 feet or so away, and they were able to hit it. Then I had other kids who were only 10 feet away, and they're throwing a gator skin ball into a hula hoop, and they were able to hit it. So um, what it allowed me to do, or my students to do, was for all of my students then to have and feel that success. Had I provided the target and the ball, I would have had some students who wouldn't have felt that success.
Yeah, and you talk about equity and differentiation right here. What's
Mhm.
appropriate for each child? So if we're really looking for the proper throwing form, do we care how they show it to us?
No.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you used a pool noodle and you showed me with a pool noodle, I wouldn't care. Just sit there, show me the steps, demonstrate what's going on, whatever the standard says. That's what I want to try and really have them master. But like you said, does it matter whether it's a tennis ball if they have smaller hands, or whether it's a gator skin ball if they can grip that, or whether it's a football if they like throwing footballs? None of it matters. Just sit here. How can you prove to me whatever it is that I'm looking for? And then give them the best way to do that. You want to talk about engagement again. You want to talk about kids who are excited to be there. Now, it almost seems like punishment to make everyone grab a projectile that's the same because not
Mhm.
everyone's exactly the same. So I have
Right.
little tiny hands. If you gave me a big ball to throw, I couldn't grip it right. And I think that's part of the problem as well. Students don't realize it. They'll grab the bigger ball, and then they'll come back and they'll go, okay, I want the tennis ball instead. This is easier to throw. So I love the choice of equipment, and then the targets you do as well. That was really cool. I did that last year as well, different targets and different distance, which is perfect.
Yeah, and then unit surveys, I will from time to time say, all right, coming up, we have a choice of this, or this. I mean, unfortunately, I don't get to, we don't get to do every unit that I would like to do within the course of the year, just time-wise. So I will send out, um, have the kids fill out a survey as far as, hey, we have a choice of these 2 or 3 units. What would what unit would you like to work on next? And then, from there, go through it. They're all units that I want to get to. They're all units that, um, from year to year, I want to implement, but unfortunately don't always have the time to do them. So by giving them that choice of even units coming up, and in that way, I know what to plan for. And again, that ownership, um, empowering them, it just brings that engagement, um, to the top, as opposed to me saying, all right, we're doing this unit when 5 kids in the class might like it, but the other 20 kids would rather do something else. Um,
It's
so,
also the appearance of student voice and student choice. I think is huge. Where we have a goal in our head. This is what we want to get done throughout the year.
mhm,
And no matter how it goes, as long as we get to our goal, we should be really happy, right? This is why
right,
the homework debate's kind of silly. Do we care if the child does homework if at the end of the unit when we assess they could show us the information that they understood it? No. So the same thing here. Does it matter what order our units are? Does it matter if we do the overhand throw with the different pieces of equipment? As long as we are getting what we need to do as our job, as long as we're teaching the curriculum in the way that we're supposed to, the order doesn't matter. How we teach it doesn't matter. All we want to know is, did you get there? And for me, I think teachers forget that. They go, oh, here's the path. Boom. We're going to go straight, and this is how we're going to do it. But you don't need to do that. You can
right,
sit there and talk to the kids and say, okay, this is what you like to do. You like to do basketball? Sure, we can figure out how to do basketball to teach something that might not be exactly in that basketball unit we were going to go in. But now suddenly, okay, our kids really like basketball. How can we draw that in? How can we take that engagement in and use it to work for us? And I think that's where TGFU is huge as well.
mhm,
The more I delve into that, where you're going across a whole bunch of skills and there's no like exact rigidity to it. Everything's like malleable, which is what I really, really like. And it's the same thing like you're talking about with the unit surveys. I don't care what's coming up next. Tell me what you want to do, and then we could go. And if you give them the choice of multiple units as you go through the units, okay, we have these 5 left. What do you want to do next? We have these 3 left. What do you want to do next? In the end, you're still getting what you need to get done, but now the students have that ownership which is huge. The same thing is in our schools. We don't want to sit there and have everything dictated to us by the top. We want to have a little ownership, and it makes our job, a little better.
Yeah, you just read my mind with that. That's what I was gonna actually share next. I mean, I know a lot of times as, you know, teachers or even in any job as professionals, um, when we're constantly dictated to as far as you have to do this, you have to do it this way, and everything else, you're not you don't buy into it, and I think a lot of it is, how do you get students to buy into what you're doing? Well, you make them a part of it. Just like how does a building or district get their teachers to buy into what's happening? You make them a part of it. You give them that ownership over it. You give them that say, and it's just amazing how different the attitude of people are, um, how hard they work, the work that they put into what they're doing changes significantly when they feel that their voice was heard and that they have something to do with the outcome. Um, if not, then a lot of times it kind of gets lost, and that's kind of what leads me into number three here as far as projects. Now, this, whether it's health or phys ed, I do different projects throughout the year, and I will give my students a couple of choices in how they can actually share that project. So, uh, to give an example, within health, when we did our first aid projects last year, I gave my students a choice. You can make a poster. So some kids still love to draw on poster board and everything else. So you could make a poster, you could make a slideshow, or you could make an iMovie. So giving them those choices, for me, the criteria is still the same. You still need X, Y, and Z information in your project. You need to answer these 3, 4, 5 questions as part of your project, and that's the rough draft. But once your rough draft is done and you've answered your questions and you have all your research and information, how you share that information with me is entirely up to you. And um, I also think that option is huge as well, because the project's still the same. They're still getting the same information, answering the same questions. So for me, uh, I'm getting the same content, but it's how those students share that content, how they share their learning. Some kids don't, like to like for me to get up, and this kind of goes into the assessment piece. You know, they don't like me to get up and stand there and watch them. So I have them, share a video of them doing the skill. So this is where Seesaw for me, and I know for you, is huge. Um,
Yeah, when you get into the projects, I love how you talked about the low tech. Uh, we get a little obsessed with technology, a lot of us, of, oh, this new tech and tech and tech. And then you find yourself teaching the technology in your class, which is fine, except it's taking away from movement time, it's taking away from activity time, and we're not technology teachers. So I don't mind using the technology, and I love it, but when it starts to impede my ability to teach and it's taking away from what I'm doing, where now if I have to teach how to use an iMovie, if I have to teach how to use the different tech tools, I'm not really doing my job as effectively as I can. So I do the same thing. All right, here's our deal for tobacco. You need to give me five negatives that could happen if you use tobacco. You need to cite your sources. You could do it by creating a Google slide, doing a selfie video. You could do um, a poster on there, and that way the tech is not a barrier to them showing me their understanding. And I know that's getting into the assessment part as well, but
right.
we don't want to become too engaged in the actual technology part. So yeah, it's cool if it works and it can be done seamlessly. And this is where if you have a good relationship with your technology teacher, you could say, hey, this is the project I have going on. They're going to do this part in my class. Do you mind if they do that part in your class? So now if they want to learn iMovie, and this is what I did in my school, now I had my tech teacher teaching iMovie because that's an appropriate place for that to happen. And then they can take all their videos and do everything through the Google Drive and make what they need to. But I don't want to sit there and have to worry about teaching phys ed and technology or health and technology. And sometimes if we're not careful, we end up becoming both those teachers, and you lose teachable moments in that time.
Yeah, and I'm grateful enough that I have a great technology teacher. Um, he and I work together on a ton of stuff, and I do the exact same thing. And this year it'll even be better because he's only teaching classes the first marking period, and then the last three marking periods, basically his time becomes flex time. So if I want him 3 days in a row for a project, I just sign up for him. So that means he'll come down to my class. He now is going to push in the classrooms to work with the students to teach the technology that the teacher wants them to use um, for a specific project or activity. So again, the teacher's not teaching it, he's pushing in and doing that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, because otherwise it's just the time that it takes. Um, I couldn't justify taking 2 or 3 classes to teach kids how to use iMovie um, and take that movement away from them during that time as well. So yeah, it's a great point. Assessments. That we both kind of touched upon that a little bit there. So again, how they present that information is part of the project. But even within assessments in some units, students have the choice to be self-assessed, peer assessed, have me assess them, um, and I am always moving, watching, giving feedback, and but my students love to use like BAM video delay and then go and self-assess them using a Google form. Or in Seesaw, they might have their partner record a video of them performing a skill, and or um, watch them perform a skill and do a peer assessment within a Google form. So giving them, again, a choice over those assessments. Now they all have to, still share with me and prove to me that they were able to, you know, complete those skills. So I'll go back through and I will, watch their video or whatever it might be. Because sometimes you have kids that are like, yep, 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 you did that great. And then I'll call the students over and I'll ask them, all right, show me this, this skill. And they can't show it to me. So I talk to my students when we do peer assessments, like, look, you're putting your name on this assessment. So, if you're assessing your partner and it's not an accurate assessment, then, one of two things is happening. Either A, you don't know what you're assessing and looking at, which it could be, or B, you're just giving them a score. And we talk about that before we do it. And in the beginning, the first couple times I did it, we had some of that. But as they knew that I come back through and I am double checking and I'm still doing some of the assessing, they know now that if they don't assess accurately enough, then they'll have to go back and they'll have to do the skills over again. So that's become less of an issue.
Yeah, and for assessments, we get back to the same thing we talked about earlier. What is the point of the assessment? It's to demonstrate the learning, demonstrate mastery. So for me, I don't care how you do it. You don't need to sit there. I mean, some of the stuff is going to happen in phys ed in the actual game and activity. There's no other way around that because it says moving in or whatever dynamic
Right.
setting, blah blah blah. You can't do that except for that game setting. So some of the stuff is already written into the grade level outcome or into our curriculum. We can't get around it. However, a lot of the other stuff, especially when we talk about information, that's not set in stone. So for me, I love Seesaw of selfie videos when I do my fit, frequency, intensity, right there. Tell me it. Show me on the video, demonstrate on the video what's going on.
Yeah.
Or if you want, create a document and then we can take a picture of the document or upload it as a PDF and put it in there so your parents see or your stakeholders see, your guardians, whoever it is that has access to that. So for the assessment part, why do we have to say it's one thing? Show me your learning. Do the best way. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me how you show me. All that matters is, did you learn? You came in when I pre-assessed at this level. Now, at the end of the unit, end of the year, end of the semester, whatever it is, I'm hoping you're at this level. Show me where you're at, and then take however you want to do it. So I think assessments are one of the huge ways that we can incorporate student voice and choice. One of the things I do in my dance unit, a lot of my boys don't like dancing, and a lot of it's a fixed mindset coming into it. So I say, all right, what do you like? Oh, we love basketball. All right, how can we combine basketball with dancing where you can show me your 32 counts, everything else going on? How can you do that? And then they take their videos with the basketball. They're doing their synchronized basketball stuff. It's to a beat. I can see the rhythm. I can see the tempo. I can see the levels when they go. They're still using everything that I asked them to, but they're just showing me in a different way. So I think assessments are a huge, huge way that we can get student choice in there a little more.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And then I know we touched upon this as well. Um, grouping. If I know, some students like to work by themselves or with partners or whatever it might be, especially for my upper level kids, um, you know, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, I give them that opportunity. So again, do you work better by yourself with a partner? Because some kids, if you put them with a partner or in a group and they don't like to be in there, then they're really not going to be at their best. They're not going to be able to show you their best learning. Um, and so I'm not going to force them to do that. So a lot of times when it comes down to it, I give them that choice. You can work by yourself or with a partner, or maybe in a group up to three, whatever it is. And again, it comes back to your point. I don't care how you show me. Just show me that what you learned, what you know. Um, and if that's by doing the activity individually, then great. If that's being in a group, great. Now, like you said, I mean, there's some activities that we do that are going to be whole group activities, and grade level outcomes um, are specific to that. But a lot of them aren't, and so I think the flexible groups uh, also helps out a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about it. It's more fun to work with people you like. I
Yeah.
mean, and I realize some kids should not be together, and it's something that could take away from learning. So in those instances, if you have to step in and do your teachable moments and do your job, that's fine. And sometimes you might even say, hey, the last 3 times you chose this group, was that the best decision? And then you might have to put your foot down and say, hey, you guys can't work together because of this, this, and this. But in general, most of the kids can handle it, and it's more fun to be with the people you like. I mean, if I get a choice, I'm going to go to the people who are having a good time, who are doing whatever it is that are similar to me. And the same thing, introverts might want to go together and be in their group, where they don't have that loud person like myself messing up, their thinking process. So again, it's about power. It's about ego a lot of times. As a
Hmm.
teacher, we have to always be in charge. We have to dictate. Guess what? We can give up some of that power, and we can become better teachers by doing it. So I know we
Exactly.
only have about 2 minutes left, Nick.
Yeah.
What do we have going on?
All right. So on to the last slide here. So what are the benefits? So what do we get out of it? Students take more ownership over their learning, for sure. With that ownership also comes accountability. So students are going to take more ownership, become more accountable for their learning process. Students are more engaged because they have that voice and say in their learning. I think that's just kind of self-explanatory for everybody. If you have a say, if you have a voice in something, you're going to be more engaged in it. For me, it builds better relationships. Um, so between myself and my students, and it also helps me to get to know my students a lot better by me actually stopping and listening to their voice. It helps me to learn who they are a lot better. And then lastly, really allows for differentiation and giving all students that ability to um, share their learning in the best possible manner for them. So, what do you think?
I agree with everything you said, and really it comes back to meet them where they're at. I mean, that's literally what we have to do. Where are you guys at? Where are you ladies at? How can I meet you there and then bring you to wherever it is that I think you should go, or how can we get you with that 1 year of growth? You know, we talk about that all the time, where every student deserves 1 year of growth for 1 year of education. And how can we get you there? And student voice and student choice is huge in that.
Yeah. All right, Matt. I think we squeaked in right in time.
I think that was perfect. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it kind of comes back to universal design as well. You know, how we used to design everything in education for the average student, but yet no one is average. You know, everyone kind of bounces all around in all the different categories. And student voice and student choice really just, can help with that design. And it can help reach many, many more students. Uh, like you say, especially with the engagement factors, because it's partially theirs now, and they're buying into it. So thank you guys for taking your time and sharing on student voice and student choice. It was fabulous. Coming up at 7 a.m. Eastern, the last hour of the Phys Ed Summit, we've got Dr. Stephen Harvey. He's
Nice.
talking about assessment and game-centered approaches, and he's building upon previous Phys Ed Summit presentations. So he's going to kind of go over both formative and summative assessments. Go ahead and check that one out. There's another one coming up too. It's Mackenzie Mushel-Ellis, and she's looking at Music Mapping 101. All right, find your way teaching dance and phys ed. So again, a couple of great things happening at 7 a.m. Eastern. Check them out. Don't forget to leave us some feedback on the Phys Ed Summit. Again, just want to make this the best experience for everyone. Justin and Nick, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
All
Thanks,
right, Matt. Thanks for
Pedagogy
having
team.
us.
We
Thanks for
appreciate you.
getting up early with us again.
Keep it free. Keep it free.
Yeah, man. Love it, guys. Thank you very much. Take care now.
All right. See you,
Bye.
Matt.